In the far north of Scotland, there's an archipelago of islands that mark the edge of Britain. This is Shetland, a place where the sea has always ruled and where only 16 of its 100 islands are still home to people. I'm heading to Unst, the northernmost inhabited island in the UK, to see what it's like here at the top of the map. From Viking ruins and wild cliffs to a brand new spaceport preparing to launch rockets into orbit. This is the UK's final frontier. To reach the UK's northernmost inhabited island, you first need to make your way to Shetland's main island, either by overnight ferry or by flight. From there, it's a 20-minute ferry across to the island of Yell, home to around 950 people, and one of the best places in Shetland to spot otters. It is time to go to the northernmost inhabited island in the UK, the Isle of Unst. I'm at a place called Gutcher, which is the point where I will take the ferry over to Unst. You cannot fly to Unst. I think you can only take a ferry to get there. Okay, time to get on the ferry. My return ticket from the Shetland mainland to Unst cost £16.50. I have made it here to my first stop on the Isle of Unst, and I don't know if you can hear the wind howling outside. It's so noisy. My first stop is a castle, and this is the northernmost castle in the UK. Shetland doesn't have that many castles. I think it only has two. This one here and another one in a place called Scalloway. Castles were much more common on the mainland of Scotland rather than in Shetland. Let's go in and have a look at this castle. Munnes Castle was built by a man called Lawrence Bruce of Cultmalindi. He was known in Shetland for his harsh rule as sheriff, and he built the castle both as a status symbol and a defensive home. Munnes Castle behind me here was built in the year 1598. It's just so incredible how old a lot of these things are. Let's go in. I have made it inside the castle. Oh my gosh, it is so windy. Oh, the only thing is, if I close the door, it's going to be pitch dark in here. I think I'll leave it open. On the bottom part of the castle here, there are lots of rooms, a little bit like dungeons. These are the rooms along the bottom of the castle. Because I'm here on my own, it feels a bit weird inside the dungeons. I saw something flying around. It was some leaves or something. And I got such a fright because I thought it was a mouse or a rat. Whew. So this is the downstairs area. There's also an upstairs area of the castle as well. In 1627, the castle was attacked but withstood the raid. However, over the centuries, it fell into ruin. There are these windows and then these little holes. There's some more stairs as well that would have gone up to another level up there. This castle feels in really good condition compared to some other castles I've seen across Scotland. Because they're so old, they're hundreds and hundreds of years old, after that amount of time they start to decay and some of the stonework becomes unsafe. So there's been quite a number of castles all across Scotland that have been closed for maintenance work and safety reasons. So hopefully they'll be reopened again soon. But it's nice to come inside these old castles, and this one's definitely worth a visit. This island is so windy, so north and so exposed, and there's a real lack of trees here on Unst, but even inside the castle there's so much wind. There's meant to be a lovely beach near here with some ancient sites, so that's where I'm going to head next. You cannot park at the beach, so I've parked here at this parking area and it's a half-mile walk down to the beach. The beach has just come into view and the water is so blue. Oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. This is Easting Beach, a broad sweep of sand which is described as one of the more beautiful beaches in Shetland. Along its shoreline lie traces of history, including the remains of an Iron Age house and a Norse longhouse. I think I actually found heaven, if that even exists, because this beach, oh my goodness, it's just one of these places that almost brings tears to your eyes. So beautiful, so peaceful. Just sit here and listen to the sound of the waves. I made my way along the beach, hoping to spot the remains of the old Viking longhouse. I have come inside here, the remains of a Viking longhouse. In this area, they found Viking longhouses, and it's said that when the Vikings first came to Shetland, Unst was the place that they came first. However, there is a bit of debate about that, I think, between islands, but Unst claim this is where the Vikings first landed. There's been a huge amount of archaeological remains found here on Unst related to the Vikings, including around 60 Viking longhouses, which is said to be the most of anywhere in Europe and Scandinavia. They did a dig here and they discovered that this longhouse was built in the year 1100 and it was lived in for generations because they found things from different periods of time when they were doing the dig. This was a really great place for the Vikings because the bay was very easy to access with their boats, and then the land here was all farmland. It's so fun to come inside this house where people lived almost 1,000 years ago. I have made it back to the van without getting swept away. This is one thing I really love about having the camper van. I can come back here and chill out for a little bit, and I'm going to make a coffee now actually before I head on to the next place. The coffee is underway, the kettle is boiling, and as I wait, I want to talk about today's video sponsor, Suri. Suri is an electric toothbrush, but it's not just any electric toothbrush. In my opinion, it is the best electric toothbrush out there. With my old toothbrush, I had to charge it every other day, and it was really annoying, especially when I was traveling in the van or going on trips, especially as the plug socket didn't fit into most regular plug sockets, and then I'd be away and then it would die, and it was just so annoying, and I would just give up and go back to using a regular toothbrush. I've been using my Suri toothbrush for about a year, and the thing I really love most about it is the battery life. I've been away for weeks and I haven't even used the charger because it's remained charged, but this is the charging case. So I just put it in here and then I plug it in to the USB so I can charge it in the van really easily. The travel charging case also cleans it with the use of a UV light. I have the black toothbrush. There's lots of different colours, but I really like the design. It's really slim, it's really simple, and it doesn't even really look like a toothbrush. The heads can be removed. These are actually plant-based, and Suri have a recycling scheme where you can recycle your old heads. If you'd like to transform your teeth brushing, I highly recommend trying out a Suri toothbrush. They are offering 20% off if you use the code RuthSuri at checkout. I'll leave the link to their website in the video description below. Suri also offer a 100-day money-back guarantee. Thank you again to Suri for making it possible to film this video today. I think it's now time for coffee. I can hear the kettle starting to boil. I usually always used to use a mocha pot to make coffee, but I actually destroyed it by mistake. So I put it in the dishwasher, which was a big mistake. It was an accident. I was very tired and I put it in. But anyway, I'm on the instant coffee, and actually I haven't had instant coffee for years. And it's really quite good, the one I got. So this will help me with the Shetland wind. I don't get blown away. Waking up full of energy. Can you hear the wind? That is the wind on the northernmost inhabited island in the UK / Scotland. Now I'm going to head to a spot here on the island, which is a standing stone. And if you've seen my videos before, I love standing stones and stone circles. I just love how old they are. Many of them are 4,000 or 5,000 years old, and they're a bit mysterious because there's ideas about why they exist, but there's no concrete evidence. So it adds to the mystery of the whole thing. There's a really special standing stone here on the Isle of Unst, and that's where I'm going to head next. I have made it to the point where the tallest standing stone in Shetland is. I'm sheltering here behind the van. This standing stone is 12 foot high, and it's really interesting to see the different heights of standing stones, especially around Scotland, because sometimes they're really small and dumpy little stones, and then sometimes they're really huge, like this one. This one's quite a big one. This is the Lund standing stone. The stone is angled rather than standing straight, with smaller packing stones at the base, which were used to keep it steady. It's visible from the sea and may have served as a navigational marker or landmark. All over the big stone, you can see this here, which has grown on it due to the age. This looks a bit hairy actually, like the stone needs a bit of a shave. This stone is actually massive, and it would be so heavy to lift this one as well. It would have taken numerous people, maybe about 10 people, to lift this stone, as well as it being tall. It's also quite thick as well. I decided to continue driving on to the end of the road past the standing stones, and it's led me here to this cemetery, which has older gravestones and also some more recent ones, as well as this old chapel. This is called St Olaf's Kirk, and this entire place looks out over this beautiful bay behind me here. It's very secluded, very peaceful. In this area there are also more remains of other Viking longhouses. I have now made it to the main settlement here on the Isle of Unst. It is called Baltasound, and I've pulled up at the shop/bakery here in the village. Located beside it is also the post office and a petrol pump. So what I got from the bakery looks so good. Let me show you what I got. I couldn't believe how well stocked that shop is. It's amazing. So this is the Skibhole bakery. I got an apple crumble. I got oatcakes, and then to go with the oatcakes I got some cheese made in Orkney. I also got a broccoli and cheese quiche, and I got some milk chocolate and caramel oaties. Let's try some of this quiche. This looks so good. It's amazing there's a bakery here on the northernmost island. What a fantastic thing to have here. Is the quiche. Yummy. Time for a little dessert, some apple crumble. I wonder if you can eat this without heating it up. Oh no, maybe you need to bake it in the oven. I'm not sure. But I don't have an oven, so we're eating it raw. That's very good, but I think it needs to be baked in the oven. There's the shop over there, and I actually was wanting to sit here on these picnic tables and look out at the view, but it's too windy. Actually, things were blowing off the table when I tried. As you can see out here, there's this huge big bay, and there's a sign there explaining a little bit about the history and the herring industry. Baltasound was actually one of the biggest herring ports in
Europe. And when the herring boom happened, sometimes 10,000 people would come here to work on the land. So what would happen was the boats would bring in the herring, and herring is an oily fish and it needs to be dealt with quite quickly. So there were all these teams and stations here on the land who would do the gutting and the preparation of the fish. And then there was also people working as coopers. They were preparing the barrels where herring would be put into. And this all happened here. And there's evidence of the herring industry here along the side of the waters. There's some old buildings over there. The herring boom happened for about 45 years between the years of 1880 and 1925. The population here was 500 at the time, and it would increase to 10,000, which is, it's mad. I wonder where everyone lived. Just in front of me here is the northernmost post office in Scotland and the UK. I heard that you can get a special stamp in here to say that your postcard or your letter was sent from the northernmost post office. So let's go and find out. Oh, that's a cute post box, isn't it? Look at that, with all the knitting on the top. And then there's the sign, Britain's most northerly post office, run by Valerie Johnson. This is the postcard. I was struggling with the postcode because they recently introduced postcodes in Ireland, and I'd forgotten the postcode. They never used to have them. Oh, that should be fine, just so they know the last name. Yeah, I should have started writing it there. Okay. Oh, amazing. That's so cool. Okay, thank you so much. Sent a postcard to my grandparents in Ireland, so hopefully it arrives. Recently, in the last like 10 years or so, Ireland introduced postcodes, and they never used to have them. And I'm not sure I put the right postcode. It was hard to actually find a record of the postcode on my phone, but I hope it's the right one and it will eventually get there from the northernmost post office. The lady working in there said that the mail goes out every day, apart from Sundays, just like any post office all over the country. They basically have the same service, even though it's so north and so remote. Every day someone comes up from Lerwick and picks up the post, and then it goes by plane to different parts of the country.
I was just about to leave and I noticed that there's also hairdressers in here beside the shop. Unst gets its power from Shetland's main grid, much of it coming from local wind energy. Water is supplied from nearby lochs and reservoirs, treated and piped across the island. Most homes use electric or oil heating, though some are switching to renewables like heat pumps.
These on the map look like they were old curing stations for the herring. So, well, there's an old boat there as well. Oh, fascinating. And then the sea is basically right there in front, and then there's a little pier over here as well. So I guess they would have come in with the herring, and then just across the road here, this is where all the action would have happened in these curing stations. Inside here there are some more fishing things. So there's a boat and there's a pulley. I think that probably would have been used to hoist up the boats out of the water. Over there in the distance is the current working harbour. And then it looks like there might be a fish farm out there as well. There's lots of buoys. There's many fish farms in Shetland.
Near the old herring industry buildings, I came across the UK's most northerly woodland, a small forest planted back in the 1840s.
I have now pulled up at a landmark here on Unst called Bobby's Bus Shelter. This is it here. It is quite an iconic landmark here on Unst, and every year it's decorated in a different theme. So it looks like this year the theme is bumblebee. Everything is decorated like a bumblebee. Wow. Let's take a closer look. Oh, there's the bus timetable hiding on the back there. Very important. Oh my goodness, even the chair is decorated as a bumblebee. And then inside here, there are things to dress up as a bumblebee. Over here, books about bees and honey. Up here, someone's made bumblebees and hung them from the top. Oh, this is so cute. I love it.
Bobby's bus shelter was named after a local boy, Bobby Macaulay, who used to wait here for the school bus. When the old shelter was due to be removed, locals campaigned to keep it, and it's since become a quirky landmark, decorated with changing themes every year. Outside the bumblebee bus shelter, there's actually a bumblebee on the ground. I think the bumblebee knew. Looks like it's injured. Oh no.
I think what everybody is always looking forward to is the honesty box reveal. In Shetland, you come across these honesty boxes, which sometimes have cakes, lots of different things, but let's see. This one is selling postcards. Marmalade is now finished. Postcards are £1 each, or 3 for £2, or you can get a goodie bag over here, which contains some different sweets. I'm quite full after my quiche and my raw apple crumble, so I'm not getting anything here, but sometimes you can find home baking, jams, marmalades, sometimes eggs, different things, but I love looking inside honesty boxes to see what they have. It's such a nice system and so trusting. I've just pulled up now at the northernmost shop, which is called the Final Checkout. Very good name. And just opposite me actually is a bar. So over there in the distance, you can see this bar. It's called the Balta Light Public Bar. And this is the northernmost bar over here. Let's go out and have a look in the shop. It doesn't look that interesting because I'm behind all these buildings, but over there is actually a nature reserve, and it's called the Keen of Hammer Nature Reserve, and there's some rare plants that can be found over there, including one called Edmondston's chickweed, which is only found here, nowhere else in the world. There's also a petrol station here, so this might be the northernmost petrol station as well, and there's a garage. So let's go in and see the shop.
It's really interesting to see the shops in these places, like compared to the shop in my village, for example, because the shops are actually really well stocked and they have loads of things that you wouldn't even think of. Like this one stocks plumbing equipment and tools and things like that that are probably not so easy to get. And yeah, I didn't buy anything because I have quite a lot of food from the bakery to eat. But I'm going to continue my journey north on Unst and see what else I can find. Around 600 people live on Unst these days, and many people work in fishing or crofting, with others in tourism, renewable energy and local services. I have now made it to Haraldswick, the next village, almost pretty much, I think, the last village here on Unst. And here on the way into the village is a replica Viking longship and longhouse.
Here is the Viking longhouse.
This reconstructed Viking longhouse was built using archaeological evidence from sites on Unst, with traditional materials like turf and stone to recreate authentic Norse architecture.
So inside looks like this. So there's a table and some chairs. It is very long. I can see why it was called a long house. So impressive. Actually feels quite cozy in here. And then in front of me, this here is a fire, or where they would have had a fire.
It says on the plaque outside that they believe that this is actually where the Vikings first arrived in Shetland, here around this location where this replica longhouse and the Viking ship are located. So cool that they put this together so you can actually see what it's like, because such an important part of the history here on Unst, with all those different longhouses that have been found all over the island. This is the Skidbladner longship, a replica of the Gokstad ship, a famous Viking vessel discovered in Norway that revealed how Norse people built ships for long sea journeys. Originally built in Sweden and stranded in Shetland en route to the US, It was restored by local craftsmen in 2006 and now offers an insight into how Viking seafarers once reached Unst. There's otters running across the road. Can you see them? Oh my gosh, that is out of control. I can't believe it. I actually can't believe it. Oh my gosh. I heard the squeaking sound and then the otters just ran across the road. Oh my gosh. Wow, that is just amazing. Amazing. I saw them, there was a car that came and then they jumped into the side and then the water's there, so they probably got into the water. Oh gosh, there's one in the water. The otters have been swimming around in the water for ages and I've just lost them now. My gosh. Did I actually see that or am I imagining that whole situation? Anyway, let me show you this Viking ship that I've come to see. It is very impressive. It is huge. And I was reading on the plaque down there that they used oars and sails on this Viking ship. My next stop is the Unst Heritage Centre, which shares a glimpse into how people have lived on Britain's northernmost island throughout the centuries. I have made it into the Heritage Centre now. It's really great. There's a whole section here on lace knitting. So Unst is known for its lace knitting and it's a more delicate type of knitting. And when you feel it, it feels really, really soft. But there's some great examples of it here. Almost looks like it's going to break because it's so delicate and detailed. There's also information about the island's history, from its Viking and geological roots to crofting and everyday life. Haraldswick also has an excellent museum called the Unst Boat Haven, which tells the story of the island's lifelong connection with the sea.
This here is the SaxaVord distillery. This is the northernmost distillery, so they make gin, also blended whiskey. It says online until 4 o'clock, but looks like they close at 3 o'clock on the sign here on the door. Maybe another time. I think it's available in all the shops. They do actually different flavours of gin, so might get one to keep in the van.
Can you see that? It looks like a greenhouse. So this is basically a more sturdy version of a greenhouse that you can find around Shetland, because polytunnels or the glass ones, they can easily get damaged with the high winds, but inside these you can grow food and you can see them around Shetland and here on Unst as well. I really enjoyed exploring Haraldswick. I've now made it to a place called Norwich Beach, which is almost at the top of Unst, and this beach is known for its unique geological features. Just here at the parking area is this egg honesty box. Let's have a look inside. So, £2.50 for some eggs. Well, I might actually get some because I don't have any eggs.
Wow, look at this beach. You know, the skies are not pure blue today, but actually I prefer it like this. The skies look a bit grey and moody, and I feel like it just gives the beach more personality. I don't know, that's the great thing about Scotland, is the moody skies and all the different light and colours you can get. So over there is the spaceport. So as I was coming down to the beach, I saw a sign that said no drones from the SaxaVord Spaceport, and it's located over there.
The SaxaVord Spaceport is the UK's first licensed vertical rocket launch site. It's been built here on Unst because its northern location makes it ideal for sending satellites into orbits that can scan and map the whole Earth. They will help with things like weather forecasting, communications, and environmental monitoring. The new spaceport was approved in 2024 and is expected to have its first launches in 2026, bringing new jobs and investment to Shetland. This beach is so lovely. And just out there I can also see some seals. I've seen so much wildlife today. I feel so lucky.
Norwich Beach is a beautiful bay surrounded by cliffs and wildflowers, with a little white croft house looking out over the sea. The geology here is special, as it's one of a few places where rocks from the ocean floor meet rocks from the land. It marks the spot where two continents collided around 500 million years ago, shaping the landscape we see here today.
It's so hard to leave this beach. So lovely here. I've seen some bird watchers up there with some binoculars, so I think they're looking out for some birds. I've actually seen them all around the island today in different spots. They said they're not looking for anything in particular, they're just looking at what they can find, feeling lucky. From here, I'm now going to drive to a viewpoint, and from that viewpoint you can get a very special view.
A winding, steep road led me up to the top of a hill, where the views were absolutely spectacular.
I have driven to Viewpoint, and from here it's possible to see a lighthouse on an island called Muckleflugga, and then also the Outstack, which is the northernmost point of the UK. It's a short walk here from the parking. Behind me is actually an old radar station, so I'll head outside into the wind. It seems so windy out there. Hopefully it'll be okay. I'm not exaggerating when I say Shetland is definitely the windiest place in Scotland that I've been. So if you come here, even in the summer, bring some clothes that'll keep you warm and keep you nice and cozy from the wind, because when the wind gets through your clothes,
it is wild. So opposite me now is the Hermaness Nature Reserve, and there is a 6-mile walk, it's a loop walk that you can do over there. I've done it before. If you do it during the season where all the seabirds are here, it's absolutely incredible. There are about 100,000 seabirds that nest over there on the cliffs, and the first ever time I saw puffins as well was over there, so it's a really special place for me.
The cliffs at the Hermaness Nature Reserve rise to around 170 metres high, and as well as puffins you can spot seabirds like gannets, fulmars, guillemots and great skuas, flying along the cliffs or nesting on the ledges.
This radar station feels a bit eerie, to be honest. It's the kind of place that you'd imagine like a zombie apocalypse or something, with all the smashed windows. Hope there's no zombies there. The view I want to see has come into view. In front of me, you can see those islands there. So on the left side is Muckleflugga, and there is a Stevenson lighthouse over there. And then the rock on the right, that big lump of rock, is called Outstack, and that is the northernmost point of the UK. What a wonderful view.
Muckleflugga Lighthouse is the northernmost lighthouse in the UK. It was built in 1854 and was designed to withstand the fierce North Atlantic storms that batter this exposed spot. It was one of the last lighthouses in Scotland to be automated in 1995 because its remote position and extreme weather made it difficult to install and maintain modern equipment.
Thank you so much for exploring the UK's northernmost island with me. And don't forget, this video has all been possible thanks to Suri, who make an incredible electric toothbrush. And if you'd like to try one for yourself, you can use the code RuthSuri to get 20% off via the link in the video description below. Goodbye from the top of Scotland. Bye.